Hey, everybody. Welcome to the One Day Closer podcast. I am your humble host, Jay. Let's see, we're feeling a little extra special. We had to get that in there. All right. I hope everybody has been doing great. There's been a little delay, a little week extra delay in getting an episode out. I do apologize for that. Crazy start to the new year, like I talked about a little bit an episode or two ago. And as much as I would love to say, hey, we have Christy with us again today, we don't. She was a busy woman up there in Alaska. But thank you so much for all the words of encouragement and responses to her episodes. And we'll be hopefully recording again soon. She actually had a little time on her hands recently because she was sick, so she wasn't working. And I think she's doing better. But again, if you have the praying type, just throw a few extra prayers her way for continued finishing healing and just strength. Like I said, that is a busy woman up there, and she's doing the Lord's work. With that, we'll go ahead and just kind of get things rolling. A little bit of recap. February. So here we are, February 2025. And it is Multi Focal Motor Neuropathy Awareness Month. And I can't imagine anybody that listens to this podcast not know what that is, but that is the disease I have. It's a very rare neuromuscular disease. It's no fun at all, I will tell you that. And in a little bit, I'm going to dig in deep with some information on it, because I think what better way really at this point than during MMN Awareness Month to put some information out there and truly spread awareness. I think it's about as appropriate as it can get, really, in my mind. But before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know life has been good and been crazy. I'll be honest, we talk about faith. I talk about faith, obviously, a lot. And I've had some things happen recently that have tested my faith. And I'm not going to lie, right? I mean, hey, some days are stronger and some days are not. But after I finished having a little pity party for myself, I reminded that just lean on God's plan. He has a plan for each one of us, and I'm no different. And despite the craziness, it helped me get refocused. So with that, if you have those days you question your faith, it's okay. It's okay, and hey, trust me, God understands. I was doing a little fish shaking recently at him, and he reminded me that he's still here by my side. So with that, some good news. So I'm recording this on February 11th. And tomorrow, my oldest daughter, Amber, will be admitted to the hospital to deliver twins. I remember many episodes ago, I talked about her being pregnant and having twins and how exciting that was. I hadn't talked a lot during the course of it because it's, she's not one for attention. And, but we've been really blessed, or she's been really blessed. Huh? She's the one that's doing all the work. That babies are healthy. They're in the right position, ready to go. And she had some complications at the beginning of the pregnancy, but those, God bless, man, they, subsided, and she's just a trooper. She, of course, she worked up until about a week ago. Never missed a day of work, never called in, never late. And she's a hairstylist, so that was on her feet all day, working, and still carrying twins. Wow. So I'm proud of her, proud of my baby girl there. So that's coming up. I get 2 grand dogs so when she goes to the hospital, I get the grand puppy. I get Goosey, and Goose gets to hang with Pawpaw. So I hope I don't spoil him too bad. He's already pretty spoiled. It's all going to be good. I'm so excited for her and Justin. And my grandson Nico is about to be a big brother. And he don't realize how much his world's getting ready to change. And it's going to be interesting. Going to be some good times, though, with the family. Just like I said, again, so proud of her. And again, if you have to pray and type, hey, throw an extra prayer up for her and those babies. That we have a good, safe delivery tomorrow. So, moving forward, MMN Awareness Month. And you got to love it because, when I first was diagnosed with this disease, I'll be honest with you, I had never heard of it. And neither had Christy, and both of us were in the medical profession, So I'm sure most all of y'all that are listening to this and have followed me on this podcast were not familiar with it neither, right? But yeah, here we are. And that's good. If there's some small way I could help educate. And of course, we talked about my case in particular, which is very aggressive. So I'm usually not one for reading a script. When I do the podcast, at best I scratch out a little outline. And those who know me personally know I wing pretty much anything when I do talks and all. Like I said, at best a small outline, and that is how I do the podcast. And but today, in honor of MMN Awareness Month, I wanted to go ahead and I printed out some stuff, and I'm going to read it. So if you hear the paper rustling or I have to work through it, you know what's going on. And hey, the cool part is I'm actually holding these in my hand, so tell me God ain't good. Okay, so what is MMN, right? Multifocal Motor Neuropathy is a rare disorder in which focal areas of multiple motor nerves are attacked by one's own immune system. So it's an autoimmune disease, right? Typically, MMN is a slowly progressive disease resulting in asymmetrical weakness of a patient's limbs. Now, my case, if you go by the slowly progressive, because I had some other stuff I was reading say, hey, it can happen slowly over, 10, 20 years. My case was so aggressive, I went from my first symptoms to being a quadriplegic in 6 weeks. Crazy. That's why when I read this stuff, I'm not going to say it makes me want to laugh, because trust me, there's people suffering from all forms of this, right? So it says, slowly progressive, resulting asymmetrical weakness, which means it's a difference, right? It's not the same in each limb. Patients frequently develop weakness in their hands, resulting in dropping of objects, and sometimes the inability to turn a key in a lock. Whew, if it was only that simple. The weakness associated with MMN can be recognized as fitting a specific nerve territory. There is essentially no numbness, tingling, or pain. And at the beginning, that's all I had was numbness and tingling. So I'm guessing they're talking about later on down the line. The pain came later. Patients with MMN have other symptoms such as twitching or small random dimpling of the muscles under the skin, which neurologists call fasciculations. And if that's the case, man, I've had fasciculation parties. And that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. If y'all remember, I think in episode 3, when I talked about getting up to UAB, my fasciculations were so bad that one of the neurologists, that's a teaching hospital, right? He brought his senior residents to see my body and examine me because my fasciculations were so bad that he was telling them they'll never see that again. So you gotta love it, and of course I was happy to share because hey, if we can help move medicine forward, right? Let's see. The clinical course of MMN is chronically progressive without remission. So I'm going to have this the rest of my life, and I've talked about that. Woohoo, right? The prevalence of this rare disease is estimated to be 0.6 cases for every 100,000 people. This makes it even rarer than GBS, which is a spontaneously self-limiting disorder, which is 1 to 2 per 100,000 cases each year in North America. And they say 0.6 per 100,000. And then the doctors that were treating me initially, and even my doctor I have now, we talk about this being a 1 in a million case. So it's like winning the rare disease lottery, right? MMN has features similar to CIDP, such that its onset is progressive over time. Again, mine was very aggressive. That over time was 6 weeks. Causes increased disability that reflects the greater number of nerve sites, that are involved. However, unlike CIDP, and CIDP is in essence chronic GBS, right, Guillain-Barré syndrome. And the difference between that is legs, starts in the legs with CIDP, and for my case, it was hands, right? So MMN is asymmetric and affects the right and the left side of the body different. For me, the right side was worse. Unlike other forms of chronic nerve inflammation, it is thought to never remit. However, appropriate treatment that is FDA approved does not limit progression and improve function. It says does limit progression and improves function. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when we get into the treatment part of this discussion. But I take infusions, right? It's every 2 weeks now. What causes MMN? MMN is associated with increased levels of a specific antibody, the GM1 antibodies, right? It's a sugar-containing lipid found in peripheral nerves. Antibodies normally protect individuals from viruses and bacteria, but under certain circumstances, they bind to and facilitate an immune attack on the peripheral nerves. These antibodies have been detected in almost all MMN patients. Even if the antibodies do not cause the nerve damage, they may be an important marker, right, for the disease and help facilitate a diagnosis. And I was going to say it more towards the end when we talk about, visiting your doctor. But if, somebody's having these types of symptoms, and then they have their doctor do a GM1 test, because it's, it was hard to get me diagnosed. And I honestly cannot remember when I learned about the GM1 antibodies and when they tested and got the proper levels on that. So, hopefully that's the case, that it can be found easy. I'm sorry, I'm sitting there adjusting my microphone. Sorry about the extra noise. The diagnosis, right? It's a clinical one that depends on demonstrating that the patient has purely a motor disorder affecting the individual nerve. So it's a motor function disease, not motor and sensory, right? So even when I was paralyzed in all 4 extremities, I could still feel, right? And that's one of the other ways they help determine what's going on. If you lose sensory, the way I understand it, Lou Gehrig's disease, right, ALS, that's one of the distinguishing factors between my disease and ALS, which actually, there was a long time at the beginning, if y'all remember Christy talking about how she was so worried that that's what I had. Um, I was too ignorant to even know that I should have been concerned that that was the case, right? But it has a purely motor disorder, right? Affecting the nerves. There is no upper motor neuron signs such as brisk reflexes at the knees or ankles, and spasticity in the limbs. Wow, that's a great word. I don't know if I've ever said that one. There's no difficulty in speaking or swallowing, and thank God for that. There are no sensory deficits. Again, I was able to feel everything. There is no evidence of focal areas of the nerve, which are electrical impulses, are slowed or blocked, right? Conduction blocks, which can be detected on electrophysiology test. And I think I might have missed, but there is evidence, right, of those blocks. And oh my gosh, man, you want to talk about fun? If you've never had an electrical conduction study, that's its own party. It's they in essence run electricity through your limbs in different areas at different frequency. I'm not frequency, voltage, and then they measure, how much it's making it, say, from the top of your leg down to your foot, and of course from the shoulder to the hand, and that's where they determine where the damage is. And I've had 3 of them. We did one last year just to kind of see how much permanent damage I have, and unfortunately I do. But also, thank God I'm healed up in several of the other areas that were damaged. So thank God for that, right? And it goes on to talk about the criteria to differentiate between Lou Gehrig's disease, and I hit on that just a moment ago, right? A neurologist does need this test, right? I've talked to patients because I advocate for patients with demyelinating diseases, and it's amazing that one patient in particular I was talking with, their doctor didn't do a conduction study. It was kind of like, oh yeah, we'll get you one in a few weeks. Man, to me, and like I said again, if you're going through this or you know somebody going through this, demand a conduction study, right? Because diagnosis is so important early. So get the conduction study, right? Get the GM1 antibodies tested. Okay, here we go. So, how is MMN treated? It is now established that intravenous immunoglobulins, right, IVIG, it's a preparation of antibodies obtained from healthy volunteers, and that is all my plasma donors out there. It takes, good gosh, when I was doing this every week, about 300 plus plasma donations a year just for me. And now that I'm treated every 2 weeks, I think we're, probably half that, right? 150, 160. Just know it's a lot of plasma donations just to help one patient. And I'm so thankful for those that give. And because I'm one of those people that truly benefit from it. So the healthy antibodies are obtained from healthy volunteers. They can be readily given through an arm vein and provide benefits to the patient with MMN. And I am so blessed because I still have some good arm veins, right? I have not had to get a port yet, even though I get that infusion every 2 weeks now. And like I said, for 3 years, it was every week. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And I always tell my nurses at my infusion center, I'm going to hold off getting a port until it is absolutely my last course of action. My life's been changed enough by this disease, and by golly, I'm not going to make it worse by having to get a port and do what it takes to make sure that stays good and clean and functional in your body. So the only treatment for this disorder, let's say they say in the IVIG, the only treatment that's approved by the FDA. And IVIG can lead to improved motor function in most patients, which it has helped me. At the beginning, it was so crazy in those early days. Again, if you've been following me, thank you. Those who hadn't, early on, IVIG I was given, and I would improve, and then I would literally, within like 10 to 15 days range, I would get worse and even be worse than I was at the start of the treatments. Thank God most patients with MMN, though, they have a good response, right? And this next line in this information here it says the response is varying from minimal to very large. And I would actually have a really large positive reaction improvement. Unfortunately, my disease was so aggressive that it would turn around quick. Early treatment after symptoms onset is always more effective. God bless that. The treatment usually does not completely reverse all of the symptoms, and that is true. Those patients who do not respond will require repeated treatments to maintain their improvement. Patients usually require treatment every 2 to 5 weeks, and over time may need increased doses. So we'll talk about me a little bit. I was every week for 3 years. When I moved last year to every 2 weeks, I was thrilled. I mean, it was gaining a day of my life back in so many ways. And I'll be honest with y'all, the people that can go every 4 or 5 weeks, I dream of a day when I could do that. Continue. IVIG is not a cure for MMN, but as currently there is no other therapies proven to be widely effective. Right. Flipping pages here. The antibodies attack. Oh, never mind. Look at that. I got my pages wrong. You gotta love that. See, I told y'all I never read from notes. We're talking about the therapies, right? The IVIG. So this I found this to be interesting. So it talks about cancer chemotherapy drugs. And I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to give it a try. Cyclophosphamide is temporarily effective. However, its use is limited by the toxic side effects and risks that accrue with chronic use. So, I take a chemo drug called ecoclizumab. It's a mild chemo drug, and for me, that's been a game changer. Again, if you follow me on this journey, it is something that they started in a hospital. It's not for my illness. It's actually for another disease. And my doctor wanted to try it on me. She felt it would be effective, and God bless, man, it was. I'll be honest with you. We don't know what the long-term effects of that chemo drug on me will be. I refuse to worry about it. I'll be honest with you. You know, when I'm able to have the quality of life I do, I'm not going to jinx myself and say, hey, I don't care if I get cancer from this 10, 20 years from now. I pray I don't. But life is for living, right? Life is made to be lived today. And I don't worry about the long term of this cancer drug I'm on. Of course, people right now are probably saying, why are you on a cancer drug? And what this does, it's what is known like as immunosuppressant. And it's killing certain cells of my immune system that are attacking my body. And so it works. It works for me. And I'm going to live every day the best I can. Be thankful for every day I have. We'll worry about the other stuff down the road. The side effects from it, man, oh man, you want to talk about feeling like you got hit by a truck. Infusion days I love because I need my treatments. I have some wonderful infusion nurses. Shout out to Carolyn again. But I always, man, I come home and I have to spend the rest of that day in the recliner. If I'm lucky, by the next day, I'm feeling much better. And I can go on with my life. Sometimes that second day also requires a lot of rest. I picture it as like a little war going on in my body where that chemo drug gets in there and it's attacking those cells. Those cells are not going down without a fight. And the IVIG that I also get at the same time, right? So it's trying to boost my immune system to help the good stuff fight. And it's just a little war. At least that's how in my mind I picture it, because it surely feels like there's a big war going on inside my body on those treatment days. The cool part is, by that third day, sometimes I feel like Superman. So, of course, I'll take that, I guess. So, other immunosuppressive treatments such as corticosteroids and plasma exchange are ineffective and can actually make the disease worse. And I know y'all have heard me talk about that. I've had plasma exchange twice. The first one almost killed me. The second one was working hard to try to take me out. I used to be on high doses of steroids. Again, it was making the disease worse, but that was in the early stage, and they didn't have a proper diagnosis, and we were trying anything we could. But that is also something that makes it different, because plasma exchange and the steroids actually work for people with GBS and CIDP. Many investigators around the world are working towards a better understanding of MMN, right? I was reading one study. I had it printed out, but I'm not going to sit there and go over the whole thing. It's about as interesting as you think a study would be. But it was something they have found in our nerves, right? They're not connected, right? There's a little gap in between them, and as the electricity, or in essence the nerve function, shoots from little section to little section, there's a section there called the node of Ranvier, or Ranvier. And it's saying that, where they thought those GM1 antibodies was the cause of things, now they kind of learning it's just a marker. And that now they can start focusing on how and why the disease attacks this node of Ranvier. So on mine being so aggressive, they were saying like that spot in between the nerves, right, where the signal jumps across, was where the most damage was on me. And which is why I have so much permanent paralysis in both hands and both legs. And like I said, I'm very blessed. But the new studies are promising. I hope and pray one day in my lifetime there's a cure. Anything is possible, my friends. Anything is possible. So that is it for the deep information on MMN. Again, thank y'all for listening to that. And again, I felt very appropriate for Awareness Month. Some things coming up. Last year I talked about the event with the GPS Foundation I did in Birmingham called the Walk and Roll. And everything's looking good this year to have one on the Gulf Coast that I'll be chairperson on. And I'll be co-chairing Birmingham again. I don't have dates for either one, but I'm excited to be able to do that and raise awareness in the communities. The one last year in Birmingham was so wonderful, and met some great people that are going on their own journey with these diseases. So that's coming up. Also, the information I just read off was from the GBS CIDP Foundation International. And it is a great, great, great resource. So any of the diseases from GBS, CIDP, MMN, and there's a whole little family of demyelinating diseases. But the information can be begotten, whatever we call that. I'm sorry. But it's gbs-cidp.org. Again, gbs-cidp.org. Tons of information. What a great resource. And, as I was looking at this stuff yesterday, and I was looking at the hospitals all over the world that are approved, centers of excellence by the foundation. And just here in the United States, how many have been added? When I was, just before my diagnosis, right? But we were looking for answers and places to go. And as far as choices, right? MD Anderson in Houston, UAB in Birmingham, and then there was like 2 hospitals in Boston, 1 in Los Angeles. And I think that was it. If I remember, of course, Christy was the one looking it up. It wasn't like I was surfing the internet back then. And yesterday when I was looking up this information, there had to be over 20 hospitals now in the United States that are centers of excellence, that are actively researching this disease and moving healthcare forward for treatment and recognition. And that is good. And, I've talked about it where early recognition, early diagnosis is the key on this. My doctor in Birmingham, she told me that if I would have gotten my diagnosis a couple of months sooner, then, it would have been life-changing for me. I might not have lost my career. I might literally still be able to work and do things like that. It hurt. This disease cost me my career. And that does hurt. But I found other purpose in life, and that is good. So with that, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. I was thinking the other day, how we age and we just see things differently, right? And I don't know if it's just because of this disease and, has me kind of hyper aware of my life. But man, oh man, as I've gotten older, the way I look at relationships, right, with our children, relationships with our spouses or significant others, right? We reflect on our lives differently. I mean, is that just me, or, is that something that truly everybody else is experiencing as we age? But on that note, I came across something, and this is not my words. I wish I could quote the place I got it from. I want to say it was something I saw a preacher talking about online. But, we have a limited time on earth. Don't waste it arguing the sins of the past. And man, if that is not true, right? We can't change the past. Whatever in your life, the ugly spots, right? Whatever somebody's done to you, it don't matter, man. It's over. It's done. We have that limited time. Don't waste it looking backwards. Make the most of each day, looking forward. Something, again, I spoke on this a couple episodes ago, but, there's people I just don't understand, and I've forgiven them for the actions against me. And then recently it changed and it turned into actions against my daughter. And that one, I'll be honest with you, it's a hard one to forgive. We're protective of our children. And I'm still working through that one, but I do forgive that person. And I just remind myself that, I almost feel sorry for them, because if somebody's that miserable, that they have the actions that they've done, that is definitely something they need to deal with. Definitely not my problem. Definitely not my child's problem. So with that, I appreciate everybody staying with me. I know we went, I'm looking at the time, 37 minutes, man. That's rock and roll there. But I really thank y'all so much. Hopefully next episode we'll have Christy back. And as always, I will tell you, always, always, always trust in Jesus, right? Have that faith. Mine had been tested recently, and it's okay. It's okay to have some doubt, but just remember He's with us every step of the way. And have that faith. He has a plan, and He wants nothing but good for you. And remember, live your spirit.